between the Prophet ﷺ and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What happened, what we spoke about, we don't know. Except what the Prophet ﷺ told us. And what he told us obviously was just a little of whatever he experienced. And so when a person is on the spiritual path, and as we mentioned earlier, Imam Ghazali says the essence of religion is spiritual experience. This was the ultimate spiritual experience. This was the envy of all the awliya and anbiya and everything, because they will never get to this point of experiencing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made himself unknown to us. Okay, but he chose to reveal himself to the Prophet. We will only have that privy, inshallah, when we enter Jannah, that we will be able to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the Prophet achieved that while he was here. It is even said that when he was ascending, he wanted to take off his sandals. Why do they see that sandal shape that people make of? They say the sandal of the Prophet. Why is there so much veneration for that sandal? It's because when the Prophet was ascending, he wanted to take off his sandals, and he was told no. He doesn't want to take off. Musa alayhi salam was told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, إنك بالوادي المقدس فاخلع عن عليك إنك بالوادي المقدس طوى. Musa alayhi salam was told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that remove your shoes, you are in the blessed valley on earth. But the Prophet was allowed to ascend to the seven heavens and beyond to the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he was told, you can keep your shoes on. You can keep your shoes on. So he said those sandals actually traversed where no human being has ever gone before. And so there is a barakah, inherent barakah even in the sandals of the Prophet. And some of the awliya would even write poetry just praising the sandals of the Prophet. The sandal has reached places where we can't even fathom to reach. And so therefore the shape of that sandal, they say, has an inherent barakah even if you carry it with you. I see people making keyrings or having that shape on their clothes. We talk of logos. Right? So when we're wearing all the logos of the West, where the logo of the sandal of the Prophet is inherent, and the scholars mention this books written about the barakah that comes by wearing this logo of the sandal of the Prophet. And every Muslim, their logo should be their logo. Now, and so when we wear the sandal on our heads, right? They put it on the kufi. That's the same meaning. We are below the feet of the Prophet. Okay, we put his sandals on our heads. So now, and obviously there's other narrations. And when you sit with the awliya, they'll bring information and things that happened, in this journey. But obviously it will take a long while to go through everything. So finally, now this narration then comes with Jibreel Islam. It's now taking the process back down. The Prophet was given the 5 daily prayers and the last verse of Surah Baqarah, and for his sake, whoever his community does not associate anything with Allah is forgiven, even the sins, the major sins. Then the cloud that cloaked him was dispelled, and Jibreel took him by the hand and hurried away with him until he reached Ibrahim alayhi salam, who did not say anything. Then the Prophet reached Musa alayhi salam, who asked, "What did you do, Muhammad? What obligations did your Lord impose on you and your community?" He replied, "He imposed 50 prayers every day and night on me and my community." Musa alayhi salam said, "Return to your Lord and ask him to lighten your burden and that of your community, for in truth your community will not be able to carry it. Verily I myself have experienced people's natures before you. I tested the children of Israel, and I took the greatest pains to hold them to something easier than this. But they were too weak to carry it, and they abandoned it. Your community are even weaker in their bodies and constitutions, and in their hearts, and in their sight, and in their hearing." So we are all indebted to Musa alayhi salam for lowering our or lightening our load. The Prophet turned to Jibreel to consult him. The letter indicated to him that yes, if you wish, then return. The Prophet hurried back until he reached the tree, and the cloud cloaked him, and he fell prostrate. And so he came, and he went back all the way. When you meet someone you love, it's time to leave. Do you want to leave? Or you make any excuse to, "I'm sorry, I forgot something," to go back. What they say, but the only, you can only really understand the life of the Prophet if you spend time with people who have tasted this spiritual love of the Prophet and the love of Allah, because there's a hue and a taint with which everything else can be understood. So when we read the Psalm, you'll find the Muslims saying, "What is this Prophet going up and down?" Someone who doesn't have the cannot understand it. Musa alayhi salam, when he met the Prophet after having met Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he received from the Prophet's spiritual state something that he never ever reached himself in his entire life. Okay, because he didn't reach that spiritual level. And obviously the Prophet increased in nur, increased in light, increased in everything. And when Musa ﷺ saw him, obviously he was astounded. He was seeing the Prophet in a state that he didn't see him going up. And so he sends him back again, knowing that, you know what, there's the only way I'm going to get, I'm going to get more. Okay? And the Prophet obviously is given that opportunity to go back and play that role. Then the cloud was dispelled and the Prophet returned to Musa and told him, he has removed 5 prayers from my obligation. He replied, go back to your Lord and ask him to make it less. For in truth, your community will not be able to carry that. The Prophet did not cease to go back and forth between Musa and his Lord, while Allah each time reduced it by 5 prayers. Until Allah said, O Muhammad, the Prophet said, at your service, O Lord. He said, let there be 5 prayers in every day and night, and let every prayer count as 10. That means 50 prayers. This word of mine shall not be changed, nor shall my book be abrogated. Yet whoever is about to perform a good deed, even if he does not ultimately do it, receive the reward of doing it. While if he does do it, he shall receive it tenfold. Yet whosoever is about to commit a bad deed and he does not ultimately do it, let not anything be written against him. While if he does it, let one misdeed be written against him. Obviously, there are narrations that go that as the Prophet was ascending to be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then he recited at-tahiyyatu lillahi was-salawatu wat-tayyibat. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala greeted the Prophet saying, Assalamu alayka, ayyuha nabiy wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And even at that point, in which it was the most private communion, the Prophet didn't forget his own mind. So he said, Assalamu alayna wa ala ibadillahi salihin. And our tashahhud is actually a commemoration of the Isra and Mi'raj. So should we be discussing whether the night of Isra and Mi'raj should be commemorated or not? Because every single day, 5 times a day, we're actually commemorating the Isra and Mi'raj, our salah. Then the cloud was dispelled and the Prophet returned to Musa and told him, he has removed 5 prayers from my obligation. He replied, go back to your Lord and ask him to make it less. When you took your community, you will not be able to carry that. The Prophet said, I have gone back again to my Lord until I feel shy from him, or I have felt shy from him. Rather, I accepted it. But at this, a herald called out, I have decreed my obligation and have reduced the burden of my servants. Musa then said to the Prophet, go down in the name of Allah. The Prophet did not pass the throng of angels, except they said to him, you must practice cupping, and in another nation, order cupping to your community. As the Prophet was descending, he asked Jibreel, why did I not see any of the people of heaven except they welcomed me and smiled at me, except one. I greeted him and he greeted me back and welcomed me, but he did not smile at me. He replied, that was Malik, the custodian of the fire. He never smiled once since the day he was created. If he had ever smiled for anyone, it would have been you. When the Prophet reached the nearest heaven, he looked below and he saw a dense cloud of smoke filled with a din. He asked, what is this, O Jibreel? He replied, these are the devils that swarm over the eyes of human beings, so that they will not think about the dominions of the heavens and the earth, or else they will have seen wonders. Meaning, people purify their hearts, okay, then the spiritual dominion will become open to them. Then he mounted the Buraq again, which he had tied in Jerusalem and parted. He passed by a caravan of the Quraysh in such and such a place. The narrator forgot the name and saw a camel upon which were tied 2 containers, a black one and white one. When he came face to face with the caravan, there was a stampede in which the caravan turned around, and that camel was thrown to the ground and its fright broke. Then the Prophet was passed by another caravan who had lost one of their camels, which the tribe of so-and-so had rounded up. The Prophet greeted them, and one of them said, this is the voice of Muhammad. After which the Prophet returned to his companions in Mecca shortly before morning. When morning came, he remained alone, and then the people with him said despondently, the enemy of Allah, Abu Jahl. And another narration says that he returned one of his wives and mentioned to his wives. And his wife said, please don't go out and tell people because people are not going to believe what you said. The enemy of Allah, Abu Jahl, was passing by and he approached and sat down next to him, saying in way of mockery, has anything happened? The Prophet replied, yes, Abu Jahl. Abu Jahl said, and what is it? The Prophet said, I was taken by my night journey last night. The Prophet Abu Jahl said, to where? The Prophet said, to Bayt al-Maqdis. Abu Jahl said, then you woke up here amongst us? He replied, yes. Abu Jahl decided not to belie the Prophet for fear that the Prophet would deny having said this to him if he went and told the people of Makkah. So he said, what do you think if I call your people here? Will you tell them what you just told me? The Prophet said, yes. Abu Jahl cried out, oh, 70 of the children of Ka'b and Lu'ay, come hither. People left their gatherings and came until they all sat around 2 of them. Abu Jahl said, tell your people what you just told me. Allah's Messenger said, I was enraptured last night. They said, to where? The Prophet said, to Bayt al-Maqdis. They said, and you woke up here amongst us? He replied, yes. There was no one left except that he kept his hands or held his hand in amazement or tremor and considered it an enormity. There were some Muslims also who had accepted Islam at that point, and they were weak of faith. They actually then left Islam because they thought this is something not possible. And then some of these Quraysh went to Sayyidina Abu Bakr and asked him, do you believe what Muhammad did? And then he gave his reply that if the Prophet said so, then I believe him. Al-Mut'im bin Adi, he died as a disbeliever, said, all of your affair before today was bearable, until what you said today. I bear witness that you are annihilated. We strike the flanks of the she camels for 1 month to reach Beit al-Maqdis, and then for another month to come back. And you claim that you went there in one night, but that was I cannot believe it. Abu Bakr said, O Mut'im, what an evil thing you have said to the son of your brother when you faced him thus and declared him a liar. As for me, I bear witness that he has spoken the truth. The people said, O Muhammad, also when they asked Abu Bakr, he told them, he said, how can you believe that he told you this all this happened? And he said, okay, this coming later. The people said, Oh Muhammad, describe the Beit al-Maqdis for us. How is it built? What does it look like? How near is it to the mountain? There was some amongst them who had traveled there. He began to describe it for them. Its structure is like this, its appearance like this, its proximity to the mountain is such and such. And he did not stop describing it to them until he began to have doubt about the description. He was seized with anxiety that he had not felt before. He was immediately brought to the mosque itself and saw it in front of him. He was placed outside the gate of Aqil or Iqar. The people then said, how many gates does the mosque have? He had not counted them before. He looked at the gates and began to count them one by one to inform them. Allah SWT brought a picture of Beit al-Maqdis in front of him. All the while, Abu Bakr was saying, you have spoken the truth, you have spoken the truth. I bear witness that you are the messenger of Allah. Because Abu Bakr had actually been there. The people said, as for the description, that by Allah he is correct. They then turned to Abu Bakr and said, but do you believe what he said? That he went last night to the Beit al-Maqdis and came back before morning? He replied, yes. And I do believe him regarding what is further than that. I believe the news of heaven he brings, whether in the space of a morning or in that of an evening. Because of this, Abu Bakr was named as Siddiq, the most truthful one who never lies. Meaning, we believe he brings the Quran to us from Allah SWT by the angel Jibreel. That's more astounding than actually believing he went to Beit al-Maqdis. Then they said, Oh Muhammad, tell us about our caravans. He replied, I saw the caravan of the tribe of so and so as I was coming back. They had lost one of their camels and was searching for it everywhere. I reached their mouths and there was no one with them. I found a water bottle and drank from it. Shaykh Muhammad bin Alawi said, no doubt has been raised about this report on the basis of the question, how could he allow himself to drink the water without permission from its owner? The answer is that he acted according to the custom of the Arabs, whereby they never refuse milk to whomsoever passes by and takes it, a fortiori water. And they used to instruct the herdsman not to prevent wayfarers from taking milk from the herd without asking the owner. And this applies even more to water. Furthermore, the Prophet ﷺ becomes before the believers' own selves and properties, and this applies even more to the unbelievers. The Prophet ﷺ continued, then I reached the caravan of the tribe of so and so in such and such a place. I saw a red camel carrying one black container and one white one. When I came face to face with the caravan, there was a stampede, and that camel fell and its freight broke. Then I reached the caravan not previously mentioned of the tribe of so and so in Tan'im. It was headed by a grayish camel on which was a black haircloth and two blackish containers. And here are the three caravans about to reach you from the mountain pass. They said, when will they arrive? The Prophet replied, on the fourth day of the week. On that day, the Quraysh came out expecting the caravans. The day passed and they did not arrive. The Prophet made an invocation on the day, and the day was extended 1 more hour, during which the sun stood still and the caravans came. So there's different narrations. One is the Prophet told them, and he described all the camels to them, because it was their camels that were coming. And they said, when will it arrive? He said, on the fourth day. And so on the fourth day, they all went to watch out. So this narration says that the time was about, and the Prophet told them they would arrive before sunset. So this narration says the sun was about to set, but they hadn't yet arrived. So Allah made dua for the sun to actually remain stationary for 1 more hour. And the other narrations say that the sun hadn't yet even set, except that one of the callers that actually called out, here is your caravans arriving, just as Muhammad ﷺ had predicted. They then went to meet the riders and asked them, did you lose a camel? They said yes. They asked the second caravan, did one red camel of yours shatter her freight? They said yes. They asked the first caravan, did anyone lose a water bottle? One man said, I did, by Allah. I had prepared it, but none of us drank it, nor was it spilled to the ground. At this, they accused the Prophet of sorcery, and they said, Al-Wali spoke the truth, and Allah then revealed the verse. So they refused to believe the Prophet, and then they started making excuses. How did he get this information? And so they called him a sorcerer. The verse of the Quran, Allah says, we appointed not the vision which we showed you, but as a test for mankind. Ibn Hisham narrates that when the fair was due, a number of Quraysh came to Al-Walid ibn Mughira, who was a man of some standing, and he addressed them in those words. The time of the fair has come round again, and representatives of the Arabs will come to you, and they would have heard about this fellow of yours, meaning the Prophet. So agree upon one opinion without dispute, so that none will give lie to the other. They replied, you give us your opinion about him. He said, No, you speak and I will listen. They said, he is kahin. For example, kahin, someone who predicts the future. He said, by Allah, he is not there, for he is not the unintelligent murmuring and rhymed speech of the kahin. Then he is possessed. They said, no, he is not there. We have seen possessed ones, and there is no choking, spasmodic movements, and whisperings. Then he's a poet. They said, no, he is not a poet, for we know poetry in all its forms and meters. Then he's a sorcerer. No, we've seen sorcerers and their sorcery, and there is no blowing and no knots. Then what are we to say, O Abdul Shams? They asked. He replied, by Allah, his speech is sweet, his root is a palm tree whose branches are fruitful, and everything you have said would be known to be false. He described it the way of the Quran being the recitation of the Quran is almost like a form of eating of a fruit. Even the enemies of Islam described it as having a beauty that that were not known to them before. The nearest thing to the truth is your saying that he's a sorcerer who has brought a message by which he separates a man from his father, or from his brother, or from his wife, or from his family. That's the closest they could come to saying, when people accept Islam, father accepts Islam, and son doesn't, or son accepts Islam, and father doesn't. And people who do sorcery, that's what they do. They cause division in families. So let's call him a sorcerer. At this point, they left him and began to settle the paths which men take when they come to the faith. They warned everyone who passed them about Prophet's doings. Allah then revealed the verses concerning Walid al-Mughira. Leave me to deal with him who I created lonely, and then bestowed upon him ample means and sons abiding in his presence, and made life smooth for him. Yet he desires that I should give more, nay, for lo, he has been stubborn to our revelations. On him I shall impose a fearful doom, for lo, he did consider. Then he planned, this is referring to exactly how they planned to call the Prophet a sorcerer. Self-destroyed is he, how he planned. Again, self-destroyed is he, how he planned. Then he looked, then he frowned, and he showed displeasure. Then he turned away in pride and said, this is not else than magic from old. This is not else than the speech of a mortal man. Him shall I flung into the burning fire. The account is finished with praises to Allah, and by His grace, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Muhammad, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. MashaAllah. 2.5 hours. So one of the things the scholars don't actually do, actually there's a strength in collective worship. So even when we read books in Tariq, we gather and sit and just read. Like on your own, if you have to sit at home and read this whole story, you never be able to sit for 2.5 hours. And so we regularly meet at someone's house, and sometimes just go, sometimes 2, 3, 4 hours. Just read and read and read and read. And you get through books, you get through information, like making use of the collective. Jazakallah khair. We thank everyone for coming. Generally, anyway, everyone's probably will sit and talk for another half an hour or hours. So anyone who wants to leave, they have permission to leave. If there's questions, we'll deal with some questions, but if people are tired, they can help themselves to water and dates and coffee and tea in the next static. And if there's no questions, we'll read Salah, inshallah. Okay, questions after Salah. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allahumma rabbana تب علينا يا مولانا انك تجعل الرحيم ربنا وسرفنا بنا في كتابك اللهم اما اخرج قلوبنا كل قدر للدنيا وكل حب الخلق يمين بنا الى معصيتك ويدخلنا عطاءاتك ويحول بيننا وبين تحقق معرفتك الخالصه وحمدك الخالصه اللهم اعنا واهدنا ووفقنا لتهذيب اخلاق انفسنا والتطيب كثافتها في الرياء تطيب لغد المعرفه وعلى النفسيه الطاهرة من حدود الشهوانية المزينة بحدود الدائمة الله عز وجل وصف حسن الأدب على بساط الانكسار والافتقار تحقيقا للعبودية ووفاء الحق والربوبية إنك على كل شيء قدير اللهم إنك تعلم ما نحن فيه وما نطلبه ونرتجي من فضلك إلى كله يسر لنا ما نحن فيه وسلمنا وما نطلب من حوائجنا وقرب علينا المسافات سلمنا من العين والآفات ولا تجعل منا أكبر منا ولا مبلغ علينا ولا تسلط علينا ولا يرحمنا اللهم إنا نسألك زيادة في الدين بركة من العمر وسعة في الجسد وسعة في الرزق وتوبة من الموت شهادة من الموت ومغفرة بعد الموت وعافية من الحساب وأمانا من عذاب المسلم من الجنة ورزقنا النور والعداء وشكر الكريم اللهم لا رسولنا على نبيه يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد والسائل الفجار يجمع النبي وكل قائم وعلى المسلمين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. He said that everything that the Prophet did in his lifetime those specific times carry an inherent barakah in noon. So the spiritual outpouring that occurred onto the Prophet that night, that barakah still remains on that night every single year. And so the awliya would say that in the month of Rajab and the month of Rabi'ul Awwal, they receive some of the highest spiritual elevations. Ramadan is there for the Ummah, for the whole Ummah, but the special levels of the Prophet ﷺ in Rabi'ul Awwal and in Rajab, they attain spiritual blessings that others would not generally attain from it. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us from those portions, even though we are not worthy of them, to accept us in those sanctuaries from which He has accepted His presence. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد ان لا اله الا انت نستغفرك ونتوب اليك اللهم صل على محمد والعصر من سنه الانفس الذين امنوا بالصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.